with Charlotte Hawkins.
Good morning, it's 6 o'clock. We're with you all the way through until 9 with Adil and Susanna here from 6:30. First, our top story. England and Scotland's Euro teams have been thrown into chaos by an outbreak of COVID. England players Mason Mount and Ben Chilwell have been forced to isolate after hugging Scottish star player Billy Gilmore, who's tested positive. All this as both teams prepare for crunch matches tonight. Our correspondent head for Scotland and the significance to them of losing a star player at such a crucial time. Well, let's go over to Jonathan now at Wembley. Morning to you, Jonathan. But they will need all the manpower. Still questions as to whether these two players, Chilwell and Mount, will be able to play. Now, the use of terms including white privilege may have contributed to the neglect of white working-class pupils in the education system, according to a hard-hitting report by MPs this morning. It describes how those pupils have been let down for decades. Lorna Shaddick has more. Confusion over whether to brave summer holidays abroad continues today as ministers are expected to reveal possible plans later this week to allow fully vaccinated travellers to be exempt from quarantine when they return from amber list countries. Well, that's despite Boris Johnson's warning yesterday that Britons can't expect restriction-free holidays abroad until next year. Well, and just when we thought it was all heading in the right direction, the Prime Minister hasn't ruled out further lockdowns either, has he? The NHS is preparing for the biggest data haul in its history, transferring medical records from GP surgeries in England to a central database. I'll be talking more about this with Dr. Helen Salisbury shortly. She's a GP and also a columnist for the British Medical Journal on just how those plans for sharing NHS data could affect you. That's coming up shortly. As the nation commemorates Windrush Day and the contribution of migrants to the UK, Labour's demanded that the government hand over control of the Windrush compensation scheme to a new independent body. Our Windrush generation, Richard, hasn't it? Now, it's 6:15. Normally, we'd be going over to Laura for today's weather forecast. She's live at Hever Castle, but the rain is interfering with the signal, so more from her coming up. But in the meantime, let me tell you what's happening weather-wise today, because it's fine in most areas, but there will be some rain in the northwest later. Early rain in parts of southern England, clearing, but the cloud is taking longer to clear. Windy towards Kent. Many other areas seeing some pleasantly warm sunshine after a chilly start. Parts of northwest UK turning cloudier and windier with some rain and drizzle later. If she's watching that, hopefully I did all right, but I'm sure she'll let me know later anyway. More from Laura coming up with a full weather forecast. In the meantime, Good Morning Britain's here all the way through till 9. Adil and Susanna will be here from 6:30. All this to come. First, let's get the news, travel and weather where you are. See you shortly. Hello again. Let's take a look at the front pages of today's newspaper. The government is launching a campaign to convince the public they'll have greater control over their medical records. The NHS wants to collect anonymous data to be shared across the health system. It says it'll improve care by making it easier for clinicians to access information. Privacy campaigners, however, are concerned that details could be passed on to private firms. Joining 6:24, Richard Arnold's here with the latest entertainment news. Good, we do indeed. Richard, thanks very much for that. OK, Susanna and Adil are coming up in just a moment. Now, Laura's here and she's got all the weather details for you. In other news this morning, the use of terms including white privilege may have contributed to the neglect of white working-class pupils in the education system, according to a hard-hitting report by MPs this morning. It describes how those pupils have been let down for decades. Lorna Shaddick has more. Confusion over whether to brave summer holidays abroad continues today as ministers are expected to reveal possible plans later this week to allow fully vaccinated travellers to be exempt from quarantine when they return from amber list countries. That's despite Boris Johnson's warning yesterday that Britons can't expect restriction-free holidays abroad until next year. At home, obviously glued to the screen. I have options. Still ahead on. But he brings love to people's lives. And he's absolutely brilliant at what he does. Putting a smile on people's faces.
Absolutely.